Hi, folks, and greetings. Welcome to our 1090 agency client turnaround sessions. My name is John Nelson, the plugin CEO of JKO Works and Plugin Business. And I want to talk to marketing agencies today, as well as those who serve other clients in that type of capacity, but are looking for something more. They're looking for a way to stand out. They're looking for something that nobody else is offering that gives them an edge over what it is that they're already doing. Times are tight. Times are a little crazy, especially here in the U.S. So for the next little while, even though there were a couple of financial changes yesterday, but everybody is still just kind of hanging on to their wallets in the business sense. A lot of people are. So we wanted to give you an option that would help sort that out and help introduce you to what we do and how we can come alongside your agency to make a dramatic difference for your clients, because this is something that not everybody's doing. We don't want it to be traumatic. We want it to be dramatic and amazing and cool, and for you to get the credit, honestly, for doing that, for your agency to say, you know what, your clients to say, you guys were already giving me value, and you're bringing in customers for me. But now we start looking at the back end of the office of what we do, and this is nuts. We're actually seeing this kind of profit that we haven't seen in a while. Where has all this been? Well, it's been right there the entire time. That's kind of what we do, and then you can then show off to, or I mean, you can, it's what we call real business life change. And it's kind of what happens whenever everything is working as it's supposed to, and your focus then gets to go away from survival mode and go into, as a business, and go into, kind of building mode. You can expand, you can serve focus on serving your customers, on doing a lot of different things. So that's what we're here to help your clients accomplish through you. Okay. For those of you not familiar. So, and just fair warning, I am my own producer. So you never quite know what's going to happen on some of these shows, but hopefully we will keep it in line. It will be good, and you'll get the absolute full effect of what this is all about, because we're going to also talk about, in addition to what this program is and how your agency can get started right away, we're going to talk about cutting costs. This is just one of the strategies. We've handpicked 5 of our most successful strategies to start with. This is a 90-day turnaround. And again, this is under the concept of, you'll see this in, sorry, I had an itch. You'll see these in oil refineries. I'm in Houston, Texas. There's a lot of those hanging around. You'll see that. You'll see it in manufacturing settings. You'll see it in a lot of different places where they take time, bring down equipment at certain times of the year, because it costs them money when they're not producing. So they plan this ahead of time. Then they shut the equipment down, perform usually maintenance on, or replace parts, or do other repairs on equipment that they couldn't do when it's running, because it would get somebody hurt or killed. So then once that's done and everything is checked out and everything is certified, then they bring it all back up and they start going again, but with refreshed equipment and refreshed processes. So that's the idea of a turnaround. And so I have not personally been in a refinery when this happens, been close to them, but not in one. But I worked for an engineering company that did these and managed the turnaround process and worked through it with them. So I'm reasonably familiar with what's involved, but just from the backside and watching what happens from the perspective of maintenance. That's part of my history I'll get into in just a little bit. But we want to talk about cutting costs as a way to keep everything kind of smart and forward thinking while these times are a little crazy, a little conservative. Maybe you're getting at the end of budget years and you're trying to do some things to hold on to cash. So as a former purchaser, these are things that I learned and I wished I could implement better, but have taken to heart. And so I hope they will help you out as well. So we'll talk about that. But first things first, let's talk about the offer. Let's talk about the deal. We want your 10 marketing agencies in particular, or people who serve clients that then serve their own customers. We want your 10 worst performing customers, your 10 worst performing clients. We would like to then work with them for 90 days. Thus the 1090 turnaround name. We'd like to work with them for those 90 days and then, really take them from worst performing to some of your all stars. That's really what we want to do. So let's talk about that. So this is very much what's involved. All right. So yeah, we want your 10 worst performing customers. I just get ahead of myself. Now, this here is not new if you follow my channels and where JKL works, my company is at. But this is called a success blueprint. We start with this. This is our roadmap. This is our guide, and this is what makes us kind of unique. We have 40 strategies to choose from, and we've handpicked 5 we know work for most companies. However, the success blueprint is something that we do at the beginning of every engagement. We take 1 hour with the client and we go through and we ask them questions and we get answers. Minor financials are involved, but we produce at the end a full report to give to them that they can do with whatever they choose. But they get to see, okay, if we tried 4 of these strategies, here's what those results would look like in terms of increased profit for you, based on the numbers that you gave us and the profit margins that you gave us. Yes, profit margins are involved, but it's just between us. Okay. So that's all listed there. And that's all a part of the process. And so some of what comes out of that is truly eye-popping. Now, and it relies on something. It actually relies, the more strategies we pile on, the better, because you're familiar with compounding interest. This is compounding impact. And so mathematically, when you provide those together and you do the things that are involved, then those results build on themselves to sort of be more than the sum of their parts. So that's the success blueprint roadmap that we start with. Okay. We work with them through you. We're not here to steal your customers. That's not our goal. We're sort of white label, or I don't know what you'd call it, pretty much silent label, because we're a service that the agency pays for at a price that I promise you'll love. You won't get anywhere else for what it is. And then and then we get to work through you, representing you, adding these extra services on top. So we work through you with them, if that makes sense. That's what we do. Okay. Then we've handpicked, as I said, 5 strategies. That's about 1 every 3 weeks. The way this is set up, we'll talk about in a minute, using our ProfitWorks Jumpstart Accelerator. If they want to go faster, we go faster. If they want to go slower, when they're not engaged, we go slower. Okay. But we know you're going to get 1 strategy done about every 3 weeks or so. And with the way that this is set up, but it's also contingent upon the client. It's also contingent upon the motivations of that client. Okay. So we want to take them from the worst performing to your all-stars. I mean, we want these to be success stories of what happens when we take 90 days and do some strategies that nobody else is doing with them. And if they think about it long enough, they should be doing, but somehow, for whatever reason, do not or cannot. So we want to help encourage them and come alongside them, work with them, and really get them to a better place in terms of customer service than we ever have. Now, that is for 1 low price. As I said, it's probably about what you charge them a month. But this is for 90 days. It's for a 90-day acceleration process. We really put them through this. So and so we can get them a lot of value out of that. And then the idea is, afterwards, if we served them well and they want to continue on that journey, then we have some regular coaching strategies that we can bring along, again, through you, that we just continue to offer them. it could be a point for you as an agency. If you run out of stuff to offer them that you've done for them already, but you want to keep them engaged, run this. 90 days. We just keep adding it as you, and then just somebody who comes alongside there inside what you do, and then from there we just keep adding value as long as they're getting value out of it. We just keep going and keep that engagement open for you at whatever you want to charge them, because we're billing you. So then you can upcharge it all you like. But we do have, there's pricing with these coaching engagements. So that's what we aim to do. Now, let's talk again about how this works. So we mentioned the success blueprint a little while ago, a couple of times, and I really tried to explain what it was. It's free with the process. It is a free part of this whole thing. The report, free. Before we do anything, it comes as a part of all this. And I'll just jump down to the bottom real quick, because we can do that for you as well. Again, free, part of the process. We do have standalone versions that are more robust. We only have an hour, so we only get about 4 strategies in. If you want the whole thing, 12, 15, 40 strategies, we can work up from there, but there is a cost associated with those, and there's time involved, because it's a lot of question and answer. And so we need to set aside that time to make that happen. Okay. So that is available. Now, the way the Profit Works goes, and we'll go into more detail of this, unlimited 15-minute sessions, all they can stand. But there's a catch. The catch is you're going to get, the client is going to get a little bit of homework at the end of each session. And in order to book another session, they gotta finish that task. They gotta finish that to do. It is something that will help their business. It is not busy work. What's the point? You're there to grow the business, but there are usually things to think about. And then you have to come back, and whenever you're ready, then we go again. I have clients on this, and we have clients on this at the moment. And that's what I don't hear from them for a couple of weeks, and all of a sudden they show up again, and we work on whatever it is they need to work on. And then we go from there. They're not on a 90-day acceleration. They're on a little bit longer, but it's the same idea. We actually came down in one's case, from a regular one-on-one coaching engagement, because it was just too much. They had a lot going on outside of our relationship in their business. So they needed to focus on it. And then we get to the strategies as we build in time. So as ProfitWorks Jumpstart Accelerator we found is the best way to do this. So you bring on a client. You give us your 10 worst performing clients. You introduce us to them. We do a whole kickoff. We do the success blueprint, and then from there we get going from that. Now there is introductory, or each of these meetings are just between each one of those sessions. Those 15-minute sessions is just between us and the client. We do get you regular monthly reports. We have a monthly meeting where it's client, agency, and that's you, and us, and we all talk about progress at the end of each of the 3 months and where we're at. There's a kickoff and a final turnaround report. There are regular updates. We'll give you. You have the meetings, but you can't be a part of them just for practicality's sake, because there's only so much time. But we can give you reports and work with you as to kind of where your client is at, based on what's going on. We do this with you. So if you're working, we want to work through you. We don't want to mess up what you're doing. So you're a marketing agency. Marketing is your thing, and you should be doing this marketing with them. However, some of these, we've tried to pull these out as business strategies, but some of what we offer, as you'll see in a minute, are marketing strategies. So if there's something that's not being done there, then sorry, it's live. I should have shut that off. I apologize. So if there's something not being done there, then we can help step in and make that happen. Or maybe you're not getting the buy-in or the momentum on something that should work. So maybe sometimes, it's like your kid. It sounds sounds better coming from a different person, right? So that's a place where we can step in. We're here to work with you. We're here to set that aside for you. So we want to make sure that we do that and that we honor that relationship because you're the ones who brought us. But there's tiny pieces of it that we need to do just with the client, but most of it we'll keep you updated. We'll even involve you and we'll work with you so we don't mess up what it is that you're doing. And we truly work together for the success of your client because that's what this is all about, right? So that's kind of how this works. Okay. But who am I to offer some of this stuff? Well, I am a business and marketing optimization specialist. I've got 20 plus years of actual business ownership. A little of it was in recent times has been just me. But earlier on, I had a team. I was a managing partner, but one of about five. And those were the ones we had successful businesses. We're working on it right now. But we had successful businesses. One sold for 8 figures, several startups that some worked, some did not work. We learned a lot of lessons, good and bad, along the way as to what we could do. So that's everything from business operations to IT to HR to sales, purchasing, warranty, logistics, the whole bit. Everything except, except for if you count purchasing as accounting. I've done pretty much everything else, at least at one time or another, or had to lead that effort or manage that effort or build it into something that wasn't really there before through some interesting scenarios that we can talk about sometime if you'd like. But I get the joy of having 40 plus strategies to choose from because having been a small business owner, I know the things that I should have done. I know the things I could have focused on. You'll find these are not revolutionary. Okay. They're really not, but that said, they're not being done. Okay. They're not being done by folks. So it's our job to come in and make sure that to politely work alongside, but make sure they do get done and they get done well. And that you as the client or you as the agency, your client gets the benefit of these things being done properly. We're also business process fanatics. We couldn't do this otherwise without building systems and business processes because that helps saves you money too. Helps to save you money in between. So those are important as we go along the way. All right. Speaking of strategies, here's at least 40 of them that we go through. And again, many of these are recognized. There's nothing overly revolutionary except that they're not probably being done. Some of them, and I can think of a couple that are unbelievably obvious, but they're still not being done. I still learn from them talking about them, like a compelling offer. Okay, what does a compelling offer mean? It means we've talked about it last time, and lost the audio at the end. I apologize, but that's the beauty of live. But a compelling offer is one that is so good people feel like idiots to pass it up. You've dialed in so well to your audience that they walk away feeling guilty if they walk away at all, or they got to take it. It's just that good. So that's the type of offers you want, and it's got to truly endear them to you in such a way that you start that relationship off on a high note, on a positive note, and you keep working through. So some of these are business related, as you see. Some of these are marketing related. So we're working toward marketing agencies. We're cognizant of that. And so we steer toward the business side as something we can pull alongside you and offer you that for your clients that may not being done like you want. However, if there's some of these that you're having trouble getting them to implement or you think would really help them, or it's not something you do, then let's talk about it. And we can work these in as some of the strategies. As I said, though, we're going to start by focusing on at least 5 of these we know are winners. These are absolute things, particularly on the business side, that are making a big difference. And so we're going to talk about one today in particular right here in the middle about cutting costs. And so I hope this is truly enlightening for you. Let's talk about our process real quick and a little bit about the ProfitWorks accelerator that's a part of this. Okay, we usually start our relationship agency with business breakthrough strategy session, 22 minutes or so. Let's just get to know each other. I can show you, and my team can show you some of what these changes could look like if they were implemented, these strategies, because we have something called a profit acceleration simulator. It's a fun little piece of software that we can put in, and then we can show 2% increase, 5% increase. Little hinges swing big doors is the concept that we work around. These are not monumental, overwhelming changes. These are small changes. What would it look like if you went from, if you somehow worked till you got 25 leads a month instead of 20 leads a month? What would it look like? That's a 20% increase or something. But what would it look like if you went from so many closes now to something later? What would it look like if you cut somehow $1,000 by changing a couple of your relationships that we'll talk about in just a minute? That's what that would look like. So we can go through all of that in the business breakthrough strategy session. We then do the success blueprint. The digital success blueprint is here for an online only business. Same idea, a few different strategies, but it's still an online only business, and it's there. We also do the regular success blueprint, which is for a physical business with an actual location. Whether or not they see customers, that's at their place. Some of the service companies don't want people at their house. That's where their business works out of. So that's okay. Still a success blueprint there as it follows into that. Now, then we get to the actual, if your clients like this, then you put them in for, they get the success blueprint report, and then we typically go into the ProfitWorks Jumpstart Accelerator. You see, there's two ProfitWorks over here. There's regular, this is one-on-one coaching. There'll be a group one coming soon, but the one we focus on for this, and I should really change this, is the ProfitWorks Jumpstart Accelerator. This is a 90-day process where you get the unlimited 15-minute meetings and as many as you can stand, and we work through all the different strategies that you can stand. I mean, we have as many as you're motivated to throw out there, and there are modifications we can make. Say if somebody really does not want to do all this stuff, that we change everything around to make it different. So, okay, so one other thing you can add here is this down here. It's called the Success Academy. This is an add-on. It's very affordable per client. It's very little if you want to, but its role and goal is to be backup, is to be training. It's DIY. They can look at it anytime they want. It's on demand. They're all videos. It's a year's worth of MBA knowledge. I mean, it's really meant to be done every week because it is so full that your brain is just mush after watching one of these episodes of it. Watching just one of the videos and taking notes. It's a lot of notes, but it's very well done and put together. There are lots of strategies and things that you can go through. And so then we add that's good background. If somebody wants to learn more about a particular concept and dive deeper, it's good if they want to try to implement some of these strategies and jump ahead. It's good for a lot of things. So makes a great add-on to the service, to the turnaround that we're already doing. And that's an add-on cost per client, but it's very, very minimal, even compared to the deal you're already getting for each client that you're bringing on for this 90 days. It's all centered around the 90 days because we can all do a habit for 90 days, right? Okay. Speaking of, let's talk about the ProfitWorks Jumpstart here. It's a 90-day thing. It is unlimited 15-minute sessions. Now, in order to get another meeting, you have to complete whatever the task or the to-do list or the something is, and then you can book another time, and we can go from there. And so we just continue right along through as many strategies as you want. Again, aiming for one every 3 weeks, to really put those in place. But if you move faster, hey, you move faster. But the flip side is if you move slower, then that's a different deal. But excuse me, you'll get out of it what you put into it. So if if a client's really plugging along and they're trying to make this, they're working on these things and they're making this happen and it's affecting everything they do. And like say in the case of a compelling offer, which is one of the strategies we do, then we can feed that back to you as the marketing agency, and you can change some of their messaging with that offer, and then we get to see the results. So that's how we all work together. And so this has worked out really well. It's a 90-day process, and people, like I said, can do anything for 90 days. And then we get to the point where it is, from there we aim for something else. We aim for something a little bit higher if they want to continue coaching. But if they don't, that's okay. That's okay. But we sure hope that they do, and what that can look like. There's some pretty dramatic things that can happen. You'll see those in the blueprint. We'll have to change things around on the blueprint a little bit because it's designed for the amount of profits you can achieve in 1 year. So we'll take that and alter some of those numbers just a little bit, only because we have to come back down to, say, a quarter as opposed to a year. But then if you keep going, those things are possible. And indeed, most of the success and the achievements have been done like within 5 to 6 months, pretty much on the average. We just allow a year just in case things happen. But this is, we led with this because it's 90 days. This is a perfect fit. It's a great introduction to who we are and what we do and how we work with you and how we would come alongside. So feel free to give that a shot. If you want to do it for your agency, we can do that too. It's the same idea. It's one set cost. That's it. The only addition is if you add the Success Academy, and otherwise that's it. You get a lot of value and a lot of availability for that time, and we'll move as fast as everybody wants to move. Now, one of the cool things, one of the other points I want to make before we move on from this, is that if you run out of strategies for some reason, or you achieve the things that you want to achieve, some people keep this and use us as a sounding board, use us as kind of a whiteboard to say, okay, what if we did this, or what if we did this, or what if we did this, or I'm thinking of implementing this. That without scaring or stirring their employees up into something that's unfounded. And also it's a chance for some of these leaders of these client leaders to try out ideas, and and sort of, the person that you can bounce these ideas off of, that's not going to laugh at you, that's not going to any of that, and not going to report it to anybody. You're just going to talk about what that's going to look like. Not that it's illegal. It's just you don't want to start some employees and a lot of other things react to some of the things that leadership tries, and even when they're just floating it out there as an idea. It doesn't make anybody look foolish. It's just a great tool, great opportunity to do this. That if you don't want the strategies, people use us as that sounding board to really work through some of this stuff, and amazing things come out of it. If they've already got some of the other under control and they don't really need it, but they need the advisement, that's why we're here. That's what we do. So just whether or not you want a dedicated set of processes or you just want to wing it, we can do either way. And it works out very, very well. So that's ProfitWorks Jumpstart. That is the implementation, what happens in the true 90 days. It is all guided by that success blueprint roadmap. It has to be, because everything is unique to your business. We can quote general stuff all you want all day long, but unless we have your numbers, even better than industry numbers, because if we have your numbers, then we can really speak to, okay, if we changed, employed this strategy or that strategy or whatever, then we can see that difference actually play out on your business. This is what it could do. And this is also, done. This is done with you. This is really even more on the client to do in order to get the next meeting. But we try to do work and always have meaningful strategies and things to bring them. It's not necessarily a training session. It's a talk about what's happened and what if we did this. Let me show you the basics of what this can do. Does that sound appealing? Yes. So then we go and try it. Then we go and implement it and measure the results. before the next meeting, or talk about the results the next meeting when they did implement it. So that's how this 90-day turnaround works, this 10-90 turnaround. Your 10 worst performing clients, 90 days to turn them into rock stars. If that's something that works for you, for your agency, or for your, if you have know of an agency that serves clients like this, doesn't have to be a marketing agency, but that's generally who this appeals the most to, because they're already doing marketing. But you could be an agency of any other type. You could be a financial one, like I talked about or talked to earlier today, that they do sort of like this, but on a strictly financial sense. In terms of in terms of some optimization, but it's far more accounting focused than this is. This has some accounting aspects to it, but this is really more general business and marketing, as opposed to deep dive accounting into the general ledger, that sort of thing. So that's the thing. A couple of other points here. I mean, no matter what your business is, no matter what it's going on, you really should be taking dedicated time every week, at least an hour. 2 is better, and 2 and 3 are better. That you're not making sales calls, you're not dealing with headaches, you're not, or accounts payable or past dues or whatever, past bills. You really should be working on helping your business to grow and putting systems in place, no matter where you get them. We hope they're from us, but they may not always be, to make your business perform and run better. You really should be doing that. In addition to the time that we spend together, however long that is. So this is something that every entrepreneur will tell you, every business owner will, who's successful will tell you, is that they took some dedicated time each week to work on their business, as the phrase goes, working on your business, not in your business. So that's important that you do that. Also, this is an accountability relationship. You might have already kind of caught that vibe as we were going through. We can only do so much for a given client. They have to do a lot of this themselves. And they may or may not be ready for an accountability style relationship. They may be ready for, I just want to hand it all to you and you fix it. Okay, we got to work around for that too. We can do all these things for you. That price is higher. Happy to do it. But as I'm sure you as an agency have those options as well. You will do everything for them, but you will charge them for it. Well, so will we. So it's the same thing that applies, but we can certainly do it. So not everybody is ready for the accountability partner type of relationship. It's not confrontational. It's not ugly. It's driven largely by them and what they want to get out of it. But it's still trying to nudge them into good habits that make sense, trying to nudge them into things that will help grow their business like nothing else will. So you need to be sure that you're ready to deal with that as an agency, and the 10 worst performing clients you pick, you need to kind of be sure that they're ready for this. Run it by, if there's some in particular, run it by them in advance and say, hey, this is what we'd like to offer you. It's at no cost to you. Agencies already paid for it. No cost to you. So would you like this kind of help? Would this help you to really turn your business and make it succeed and keep those doors open? And not only that, but find ways to really supercharge what you're doing and what you're offering your customers. That's the type of approach that you can give them and work with them through. And it really does make a difference, but you have to iron this out first, because otherwise it can just end up in a bad situation. We end up pushing them with barely even trying, and they feel cornered, and stupid stuff happens and things are said that don't need to be said, and it's just a bad fit. So this is different than most. It's an accountability. It tries to be as done with you as it can be, but a lot of this is dependent upon the client doing the work. Okay, and then reporting back, and then we working with them to keep going down that road. Those that do this, I can tell you, have had some amazing results. We're going to be putting together some of those and try to put that into one spot on our website. It's not there right now, but it probably will be in days. But there's some really, really cool results that have come from this. So but you have to be in the right place for it. You have to be in the right frame of mind for it. If you're not, then it's just not going to work. It's going to end badly. But if you are, then amazing things can happen. And what shows up on that success blueprint is what's entirely possible for each one of these folks. So, and a final thing is, when you're spending that time working on your business, that's not an expense. This is not an expense. Any time spent working on your business is actually an investment. I know you know that, but not everybody else thinks that way because they're so deep in their situation and what they're doing. This is an investment and should be treated as such. This will grow your business. It should never take away from it. At least not in the long term anyway. I mean, there may be a short term cost to it, but if you're making far more money because of it and you're serving your customers far better, there's a benefit to that. There's a profit to that. And so those are investments, is time well spent on your business. Now, we've been talking about these different aspects. Oh, by the way, if you want more information, turnaround.jkoworks.com. turnaround.jkoworks.com. You've kind of seen it all along. So it's there. And so we'll get back to that in just a few minutes. Now, let's talk about the other reason you're here. And that is going through one of these strategies. So we've talked about the market dominating position. That is knowing your customers so well that you're inside their head. You know their hot button issues. And you appear to know them like nobody else. And so every time you offer something, it seems to be exactly what this particular customer is looking for. And so they're far more likely to buy from you. They're far more likely to engage with you and to not turn you away, and choose you over others, like anything else. So that's the market dominating position kind of in a nutshell. Then we talked about the compelling offer. That's an offer so good that you'd feel like an idiot to pass it up because the market dominating position, because you're in their head, because you're offering them things, because you understand their issues and you have the one and only best solution for them that's actually going to work. And they'd be an idiot to pass it up. You don't ever say that, but you kind of imply it or let them come to that conclusion on their own, as you already know. Now, let's talk about cutting costs. Okay. And so we are specialists. We're also, another word, coaches. Sorry, but it's true. But not the coaches that are walking up and down the sidelines yelling at everybody. There are people who have those bad coach experiences. There are also some very, very good coach experiences out there, and we hope to be one of those. So, but there's yet another word as we talk about the history of all this. That's 20 years old and has been retired for a lot of reasons, at least in the short-term vernacular, and that is consulting. Ooh, yeah. Thank you, Arthur Anderson. And being from Houston, as I am, we have additional baggage that comes with that in Ron. So it is what it is, So, but there are good sides to this. This was started and this got hot 20 years ago for a reason. Okay. Because initially, before people figured out how to steer it wrong, these were business solutions, manufacturing solutions, financial solutions, profit solutions that really worked. They weren't shuck and jive. They were really things that make a difference for businesses, that really turn around what they do, that really allow them to, have success or to get unstuck from something. That's kind of the history in all this. And it's been there for a reason. These are not revolutionary concepts. It's like Dave Ramsey says, it's your advice your God and your grandmother gave you, right? But he's talking about financial advice. We're talking about business and marketing optimization. Not all this stuff is new. The only thing new about it's AI, right? And even that's been in science fiction books for decades, if not longer. So, I mean, this is not revolutionary, but the thing is, you're not doing it. So this is what we aim to go through and dispel There are some fears as you associated with this, and of course, the first one is you're going to just start slashing people and cutting jobs and doing all those things. Um, for those of you who know really what cutting costs is, that's not it. That's the stereotype that gets pushed around. But really and truly, a good purchaser or a good purchasing function, if you don't have a dedicated purchaser, somebody who's really good at that is absolutely worth their weight in gold. They're not looking to slash jobs and get rid of everybody and do and buy cheap, and so they do anything else. A good purchaser has figured out how to do the balance, and it's a delicate balance. Trust me, I've been a purchaser. I get it, and I was not that good. I learned over time, thanks to some very, very good people, um, that I got to improve on. A good purchaser strikes the balance between getting something inexpensively that's still good quality for their clients or their customers. Because if you ultimately give your customers crap, they'll stop buying from you, right? If you give your customers things that break, things that don't work, things that have quality control issues, things that have all kind of problems, or service that's lousy. I mean, everybody, loves to hate the customer service person, but without them, where would we be? Where if you serve, they almost make or break your business. If you have crappy customer service, it won't be long that you stay in business. If it's at all possible, the market will punish you. I promise you. Eventually, they will. But the flip side is, and unfortunately, it's one of those things of you have to work a whole lot harder to do good than doing bad. If you do, a few bad things, it goes downhill quickly, but it's harder to climb back uphill. That's an unfortunate reality. But good customer service is absolutely worth its weight, right up there with the purchasing function, because both of those directly affect what goes on with your business. Doesn't matter how many sales you're bringing in. If your customer service sucks, they will leave just as quickly. And they will ultimately stop because the word will get out, right? Marketers, you understand this. We talk about reputation management. It's the same idea. So that's one of the fears is, we're just going to cut jobs and be cheap. Well, good cost cutting measures don't do this. Good ones don't. They just don't. And there's lots of reasons why. I just wanted to check something there before I go deep into the slides here, right? So let's talk about some things to think about when it comes to cutting costs. And these are, this is one of the things, again, we cover. So we'll dive deeper into this. And I think you'll be pleasantly surprised at what this gets you and how this actually works, and how a properly enabled purchasing person can do things and purchasing function can do things to benefit your business that you didn't think about, and maybe they didn't think about. But they're getting sales prospected all day, every day by somebody wanting their business, and they got to fend that off in addition to making sure everything in your company gets where it needs to go, all the materials or all the service pieces or all the whatever, at a reasonable price in a proper time frame to serve the customers and to get paid. So the purchaser's challenge is extremely difficult, but it's vital. Okay, so we talk about this. First thing, every payment has a purpose. Okay, every payment should have a purpose. It should go to before, and it's leverage. That's part of what this means. It's leverage for what you do. It is leverage for for getting quality service out of a vendor. It is leverage for working with so many things, making sure the quality is where it needs to be. But at the same token, should be rewarded for a job well done. We'll talk about some of those aspects in just a minute. But every payment should have a purpose. There shouldn't be anything left undone that makes accountants crazy and bookkeepers crazy. I promise you it. If you didn't know, it does. That payments without some sort of purpose to them and where they go and what they can be connected to and accounted for, whether it's a part of what the product or service you provide, or it's just a part of overhead costs of keeping the doors open. Every payment has to have that purpose, right? Okay, so the next thing is, but do a regular budget gap analysis on a regular basis. So look at that. All that's just a fancy way of saying, look at what you're spending versus the profit that's coming out of it. If you can do regular cost benefit analysis, it's an easy equation. You take your revenue and you divide it by all your costs that are listed. If that number is 1, you're breaking even. If that number is greater than 1, you're good. If that number is less than 1 or negative, you have some. Well, less than 1, you have problems. If it's negative, you have some real problems, and that basically means that you are spending more than you are, or you're taking on more cost than you are getting revenue benefit out of it. So doing the budget gap analysis, always being aware of where that is. That's that's partially a purchaser's function. That's the accounting's function as well, is to make sure that is getting taken care of. Accounts payable, a CFO or accountant or bookkeeper or whatever you have should be running these regularly, and they should be coordinating with purchasing to make sure this happens. And then coordinating with the operations side just to make sure everything gets put together like it's supposed to. A regular budget gap analysis doesn't have to be time consuming, but it can be just a big help in a once a month exercise, just to make sure that everything is where you expect it to be. Because when it's not, that's when you have problems. All right. So the next thing is, from a purchasing standpoint, get a better deal whenever possible. And we'll talk about some ways. Some of the other tips are ways to do that here in just a second. But don't be afraid to get a better deal. Don't be afraid to, and that sometimes starts at home. Sometimes that starts with the vendors you already have. It honestly should, because we'll talk about in a minute being a good customer. You can be an awful customer to a supplier, and then they'll find really covert ways to punish you. They'll still sell to you, but they'll find really covert ways to harass you and punish you for what you put them through. So don't be that customer. Okay, be the one that yes, drives a good deal. That's a purchaser's job. That's what they're supposed to do, is make sure they're getting the absolute best value for the money that they're paying. They're getting the best deal, the best value for the money that you're paying to these suppliers to make that happen. So a good purchaser is always on the hunt for a better deal. And they know most of the time that starts with who they already have until it doesn't. And you should maybe, as a purchaser, consider having 2 to 3 alternates, and they got to know they're alternates. They're not the chosen one. They're not the spec, as they say. But they're waiting in the wings, and so they need to be aware of that. And sometimes great initial offers run out, and then you're stuck with what the company really is. So make sure you're getting a better deal, and that it's a longer term thing. To that end, speaking of longer terms, it's don't be afraid to. We talked about being a good customer. We will more in a minute. Go long. Offer them something as an incentive. Look at it from your supplier's point of view, just like a business. A good purchaser will do that. They should look at things from their business supplier's point of view, from a business standpoint, to say, okay, what would make it worth this supplier's while to give me a good deal? And one of the things that we can do is to extend out the term, to give them more of a commitment. Okay. That's why you see so many companies, particularly in service, online services and that sort of thing, I give you 1 or 2 months free or some sort of discount if you do an annual plan versus a monthly plan. They know they can count on that money then. So they're willing to give you a little something for doing that. That's a great example of how that works. But don't be afraid to offer that. Now, that said, there is such a thing as too long. So, 3 and 4 year terms, depending on how your industry works, things that are seemingly too long lock you into situations that may be less than ideal, because particularly if that company starts underperforming or they have problems and you're stuck because there's nothing you can do. So it's, again, finding that balance between the offering them a little something extra and going too long. So that's yet another balance the purchaser has to do. And so it's a tough job, guys. I'm here to tell you if you've never done it. Okay, so if you have, okay, nurture relationships. This is a part of keeping those 2 to 3 extra vendors available. Is a good purchaser. Nurture those relationships. Be kind to them. Work through them. They're designed with one thing in mind, and that's to sell you. Okay, just everybody be clear about that. Everybody be clear-eyed, as they say, about that. They're here to sell you. They're here to get their spec, to be the provider for what you need. But that said, if they're not, sometimes it's good for them to know why, or what your situation, enough of what your situation is. If you really like them, if you really see the promise in them, say, hey, I'd love to use you, but we're locked into this situation over here. We want to give them a chance to perform. You'd want the same courtesy. So yeah, but I want to keep in touch. I want to keep that door open. We got to be careful with the gifts. We got to be careful with the extra stuff. That's they want to be the one. Everybody wants to be the one who brings the donuts, right? So, and they do that very often. So a good purchaser should be careful with that, but still nurture the relationship to maintain that respect and those boundaries in that relationship, but still keep that door open and keep it as something as quality. Then when the time comes to make a change, and good sales people know this, they really do. They're not happy at not making the sale, but they understand. And they will take a position of stalking, just to wait, stalking in the best possible sense. to wait, to say, okay, I understand you're locked into this, but I really want your business, and I'm willing to wait for the opportunity to get it. And then when that opportunity comes, they don't miss it. Okay, good salespeople do that. It's the gamesmanship that goes on between salesman and purchaser, or salesperson and purchaser. So it just happens, and it's part of business since time immemorial. Okay, but nurture those relationships as the purchaser as well. It's in your best interest to do so. Don't make enemies by cutting somebody off, or or to this next point here about be a good customer. I've been talking about this in all these different processes here. Work towards that. Be a good customer. Be the type of customer you would want to have. Don't be a problem child. Don't be these that they're constantly cutting off to jump to another just to get the cheapest deal. Don't be that. Okay? You wouldn't want that done to you. I guarantee you wouldn't want that done to you. So don't do it to anybody else. Be fair. A good purchaser, they're tough, but they're fair. Okay? Everybody knows what's expected and where the boundaries are, and that's what a good purchaser does. So in doing that, that's not caving to anything. That's being fair. You treat every vendor the same way. If they succeed, tell them why they succeeded and why they got the business. They'll want to know. I promise you. What swayed you to come to them? By the same token, if they start messing up, or if somebody tries to pitch you in an awful way, then they need to know. Those people need to know that too. To say, but if you go whichever way the wind blows, you sign up with some particular vendor and you give them a really short-term deal, and then they just know you're looking for the next great intro offer to come along, and you're going to jump ship. People are going to stop working with you. They're going to stop. I promise they will. So be a good customer. Be that type of customer, like I said, that you want to be. I'm really hammering this because it's something that's not talked about. Okay. And when we talk about cutting costs and we talk about purchasing and we talk about some of this stuff, this factors in how good of a customer you were, because the last thing is we talk about revisiting this on a regular basis. Okay. You want to revisit this periodically, maybe every 6 months. That's plenty. 9 months to a year, maybe. But again, revisit these relationships, even if you check them off to say, you know what, we're still good, no problem. And even if it's a 20-minute exercise, still revisit these, who you buy things from, what type of situation you're getting, whether or not the quality of their products and services is there, and that your clients are and your customers are the beneficiaries of good things because of it. And it's helping your business and it's not hurting your business. So try to revisit those at least then. You don't need to do it every month. There is such a thing as too anal retentive, but that's that every 3 to 6 months is perfect. 6 months is probably ideal. 3 months if you must, if it's important. There's always emergencies. If you start having problems, then that's where the relationships come in, and you have to make a quick change. Then for reasons, maybe you're getting lousy quality. Maybe the company that's supplying you is going out of business, or they're changing products, or they're doing something else, and they just can't make it right for whatever reason. Then you got to make a change, and that's sooner than 6 months. So you have to do what you have to do, and that's where those 2 to 3 extra people can help. Now, let's bring in a little gamesmanship, shall we? In the best possible sense. So we've got all these measures for cutting costs, and we mostly been talking about the purchasing function or the purchaser, right? What if we got the rest of your company involved? What if we got more people, helping to make this a reality? This is a great way to do a company-wide thing that may have a great effect. So let me tell you. So it's looking for ways to not only cut costs, but looking for ways to be helping the company to be successful. When I was working for the maintenance and reliability consulting company, they talked about, and this is a very common term, they talked about buy-in. You want buy-in at all levels. So the first place they would go is to the top of the plant or the management, the top of the facility. They would not start at the maintenance department where they usually were working. They would start at the top, and it would cascade down through everything. Why? Because you really do have to have that. So in order for it to be good. So you can make a little, not a competition, but a morale building thing out of this by kind of making a game out of it. All right. But there's some things you gotta remember. One, yes, it's great for company morale. It's great for doing that. You want to solicit suggestions, from everybody. And you want to, most importantly, if you ask for these and you provide maybe a little incentive, a fun little incentive for it. If we collectively cut our costs by, or we achieve this result, we're going to have a party, or we're going to have a something or other, or everybody's going to get a little bonus or something. There's different incentives that you can do here that really make a fun difference and make it good for everybody. Now, if you're going to put this out there to the entire company or even a small group, you need to be prepared for that you're going to get suggestions, and you need to acknowledge them. Now, you don't have to implement all of them, but the ones you don't, you need to be pre-prepared to graciously say, that's a great idea. Let's work on that a little bit down the road, and then at least consider it. Instead of shooting it down, if you shoot it down immediately or you don't pay attention to it, your employees will figure it out quick, fast, and in a hurry. And when they figure it out quick, fast, and in a hurry, they will all quit playing. Okay? Every single one of them will quit. They'll stop playing the game. They'll stop helping you out. They'll stop making the company better by what it is that they're doing. So you need to figure out a way in advance. We can help you work through this to acknowledge, if you want to take this approach more than just a purchaser, It can help you work through ways to incentivize this and to acknowledge it when the suggestions come in. But if done well, I mean, the collective results you can achieve are they're fantastic, and everybody's bought into the process, and then you make it a habit. You make it a regular part of your culture, your company culture. This is not slash and burn. This is be smart with the resources we have. Everybody works to be smart with the resources we have. It's a team effort, and some will be better at it than others. Just know that. But it's a great way to include all this in everything. So that is the quick bit about cutting costs. I hope you particularly take these suggestions to heart, whether you have a purchaser or a purchasing function. If you want to do the game thing, that can do well as well. Keep these things in mind when we're doing that. Okay, and just be realistic about all of this stuff. Okay, so this is just one of the strategies. This is one of the 5 strategies that we do, is talking about cutting costs when we talk about this 90-day turnaround. So I hope this has been helpful for you. I hope this has been something that is useful, and maybe triggers in the best way possible some ways of thinking about your clients, thinking about their business, or you as a marketing agency thinking about yours. We can do all this for you too. In addition to them, there's nothing says that you shouldn't do some of these same things too, and audit your services on a regular basis and get the most value out of them on a regular basis, and ensure that they are providing to your clients what you want them to provide, because sometimes they're not. Sometimes it's just cheap, and then problems come out of that. But if you're interested in learning more, it's turnaround.jklworks.com. You'll see it again here in just a second. Turnaround.jklworks.com. If you have any specific questions, you can comment where you're watching this. You can also just go to our website and book a business breakthrough strategy session with us. It's 20 minutes dedicated to you. Well, I'll answer your questions live. I mean, right there in front of you. We'll talk through anything you want to talk through relative to this and how to get started with it. And that's important, and break down some more of what this journey looks like. It's a constant process of refining it and making it something that is viable and special, and truly business life changing for your clients and for you as an agency. So I hope this has been helpful. If it has, consider the next step with us and getting started and seeing what that looks like. We will talk to you very, very soon. Thanks for watching.